都必须的图，都必须的他给拿了。出现马人把伊拉切比，皮心图嘛，皮心图住马六把色的，出现马人把伊拉切把个皮心图住马六把色的，切的图把他呢，个的，安尼他看说嘞，切同起来，我把对比一些图把切为切。아니 공도 지가 시작받나 신신기 아니면 투비 투주양다 받다 받쳐도
So then verse 12 from this chapter says, in the hearth of analysis, all of the fragments of non-virtue, of non-virtuous ideas are incinerated, and in order to attain the unexcelled state, that is the religious observance of the sages. And so that's how one practices the religious observances of the sages. The commentary on this says that within the hearth of analysis, in order to eliminate in their entirety one's desire for various kinds of objects, one burns up all of the fragments, fragments of firewood, which are the incorrect kinds of judgments about things. And that's the way how the sages of this dharma, this tradition here, that's the way in which they rely upon the religious observance of the sages, as it was taught here above, in order to obtain the gnosis, which understands all phenomena in a single moment. And then that's, yeah.
다 대체 어머님 비저와 또금 봐와래 투비도 쉬한다 받던 레우디 니와고 다 어머님 비저와 또금 봐와라 대권하니 시와 초비 레우디 레우숨바 나 다니 디 시와 초비 가서 파배 대권하니 시와 초와 가서 파배 대tem비시 레우숨바 잠배 왕도 채나 어디다 가라 시비 미여바 대라 미여 셴마이 대질로 간질로 된다 대니 시바错了 어디다 시샤와라 소 미디 가라 시비 미여바 가라 시비 오니니 미인데 유 가시와 그때 아니다 미세나 지당 안보로 고거래 다 명한라 땜비 시와테라 안 미시에세디 대이수만 가라 시와니니 미인데 대화다 마음바다 타다당 아니 타른 와당 타녀와당 유라바당 아니 참이 뭐 타다라 토바메바 안다 주비체르세 아니 주비체르세라 가서 가라 시위미 바텔라 미셰미 안다 디버주타야.
So that completes then this second chapter from the commentary called Blaze of Reasoning, which is a commentary on the heart of the middle way. And this chapter is titled The Way to Rely Upon or Resort to the Religious resort to the religious observance of the sages. So then the next chapter, the third chapter, is the chapter of how to seek the wisdom of the knowledge of reality, and this is again from the Tarkashwala, the Blaze of Reasoning commentary on the heart of the middle way. So the chapter begins now. This is the occasion to explain how to seek the wisdom of the knowledge of reality, and in order to teach that, this third chapter is composed, and in accordance with that, then the first verse is given. One who has the eye of knowledge, that person has an eye, but others do not. Therefore, those who are intelligent should strive to seek for the knowledge of reality. And that's the verse. And then, so the very nature of knowledge is an eye. Here, eye, normally we can say it refers to like the organ at times, but this is probably referring here to the actual awareness of visual awareness in this context. So this visual awareness is called has the nature of knowledge because it engages without any kind of obstruction in all kinds of things of the past, the future, the present, things that are distant, near, gross sorts of objects, as well as extremely subtle things.
Oh yeah, that color she me about Telanis, Kondo Shabaki, Ani, you Tara Teda, Shibaki me about Telani, Ani Casore, me about Sigala, Shiva Tedaki, Tommy, Daki, me, Ambut Yoba Telani, Ani Ambutella Devaki, Mikishiva Yoba Yin Sigina, Shama Yin Shivani. 想马英去天了没？想马英在的，想马英在干了，他没了，写也没得，他也没得，确实没得，写了就没什么不教人不的，是吧？天哪呢？写没，写没，想马英写完呢，写没呢，还想人话当，人话当，俺不带话了，说话给，俺我他了，龙话当这外。 阅读新疆，这样没办法，他没对吧？没办法，退也讲，俺也没得办法没用了。我这个，这了没想没意思。军人的呢，看过去落单点吧，他呢，俺呢，他看着说呢，下一枚，有车了通不到，老单知道吧？等到这个下一枚，俺把错的帮的，俺那铁矿那里写完了，这么切过完的了，天那看见落单他，天你写完错了，真是我的，落这的单把咱的下一枚，俺把错的帮的，俺那铁矿那里写完做完了，这么切过来。 Yeah.
So thus, one who has this eye of knowledge, here in this verse is said as someone who has an eye, but others don't have eyes. There's no other eye than that. And where it says no other than that, meaning it's what that's referring to is like the physical eye or the eye of flesh that doesn't have the ability to know things the way knowledge does as such. The physical eye organ, one could say, as in the same way that, say, the visual awareness is able to know things. So the eye of flesh, it is similar to being, it's blind with respect, or similar to someone who is blind with respect to things which are extremely close, extremely distant, that pass beyond the sphere of that visual faculty and so forth. So those things, it's as it were blind with respect to those things, and because even if one has that kind of eye of flesh, it can't serve as any kind of benefit it can't benefit one in any way to know these very close, very distant things which are beyond the range of one's vision. And so in that respect, then one can say that even if one has that kind of ordinary vision, that one doesn't have the vision of knowledge, which is the point here. And that being the case, those who is intelligent would not, anyone who is intelligent should give up seeking things with this inferior eye of flesh, and should make effort to seek the knowledge of reality, that kind of vision.
Oh yeah. 天天你点不起来，乱点几点算不大。通没通话，老外讲，单对他人吃着当，里边这样通话就写下话没得些。按他的工作设备，有那做法他细微，没给落单点吧。按你几点算不大，他旁边把通话，3里几点算不大，按你他旁边把通话呢，你下一辈年是老外讲到对吧？他是我把他当着当，吃我，俺你对天参不当，俺你这边天津我没单点吧，新队，俺你看说的这边天津我不样。 有的通话了，这边天津我呀，没担心不担保新都，让他把通话举着是呀。
So then the next verse here says that someone who is intelligent, again, someone who is intelligent and has that so someone who is intelligent, who has gained this eye of knowledge, is able to see the entire three worlds without any obstruction, something which, even if they are actually blind, they might desire to see that, and they can see it if they have this eye of wisdom, because they're able to see very obscure objects, which are distant, which are very nearby, which are extremely minute and so forth. So that's the verse. And then the commentary there says that someone who possesses the intellect or the wisdom, the intelligence, which is this eye of wisdom or eye of knowledge, is able to see without any kind of obstruction the three worlds referring again to the underworld, the surface of the earth, as well as the heavens. And so even if someone has their eyes have deteriorated, and even if they become blind, if they have that kind of desire, if they have the desire to see things, and they have that kind of eye of wisdom, then they'll be able to properly see very distant things, things that are thousands of leagues away, very subtle things like atoms and so forth, particles of matter, and they're able to see things which are ordinarily obstructed from one's vision as well, as if their sight was intact, as if just like people that have good eyesight.
Oh yeah, that is la. Xiang mi dong ba yang lo me na mi dan dan ba ma yin de. Tori ta ni chang zhuo ji lam dan la mi dong qi se. Ta mi dong ba sai le jia jin la ko guo de, 是吧? Jia jin mi dong dan ya si bi ten yi mi dong se te kuan ni mi dong suan na jian. Mi dong ba ni la yang bu xie cha de. 天天有了这位下拜，我这就用是之外是吧？有新的给俺那下拜个，俺那写了，下拜个，我这用是之外，俺那看的写为录音，看的写为录音，看写为每个录门呐，每单单把买的，这款那的写话给每个录门呐，每单单把呀买的，哦，每个老门那没单单把呀买的，今天去行呐，托的我都是吧，我都抢着，俺那看着他吧，托的他抢着去了，买吧，让他吧，俺那其他话心都没他没写了，是的哟，没单单把买的，托的他呢抢着去让他那面没他吃，呀，哦呀，托的你给我做。 是吧？托的呢，俺呢每个就大给我做，每个就给我做。抢出去他们呢，俺呢爬上养他接的，他养他比大娃他、大把他，养他比二他，养他比来吉他，养他比左娃他，养他比错是俺呢才是错娃他。 养他比丁一点的，养他比全部是他把他们家了接回来，他对这怎么个去？我得去干了，这看是抢出去了，你爬上养他接把我呀。
So then next is Master Bhaviveka says, moreover, even the thousand-eyed one, if he doesn't have intellect, this kind of intelligence, is someone who has no eyes, because he's unable to see that which is the path, the correct path, or not the correct path to heaven and the achievement of the awakening of liberation. So this verse is explained as follows. The thousand-eyed one is named for the Lord of the gods, Indra. And so Indra, one of his epithets is a thousand-eyed, the thousand-eyed one. And so because his intellect is bound by the noose of desire for objects, he's enveloped in, and he's completely enveloped by his desire for sense pleasures and so forth. His mind is completely tied up with that. since he doesn't have the eye of the intelligence of this eye of wisdom, of knowledge, he's as if he has no eyes at all. And if you ask why is that the case, because he doesn't know, he's unable to see as it actually is in the correct fashion the path to heaven and the path to the achievement of liberation. He's unable to discriminate between what is the correct path and what is not the correct path to the achievement of heaven and liberation. And then with regard to the path to heaven, that's the 10 virtues, the practice of the 10 virtues. And then is the path to liberation or awakening, it's the Noble Eightfold Path.
Oh yeah. 다들이 강기 몇단 내봐 주위 시와의 가르신 강신나 다들이 대체 시라 미지 통화당 마동 제반 되바이 레부제와 투지지 진발라서 좀 매지 다 통일적으로 마동이 통화다 레부제데 체대란 레부 멤버들라 통화당 저와 치만 맞으라 멤버들라 마동와 쓰기 서상도디 가서는 주매지 세라지 미쳐와네 통일 레부 세자와 레부 토바타 렌셔바 판진발라드나 투 아니 렌셔바 레부 토바다 렌셔바 타라 지나 니나 제디나 레부 토바다 마도면 레부 세자와 지단 파로당 개발지 레부 세자와 아니 지단 파로를 맵잖아 마도면 레부 개발지 레부 세자와 콜리 주와다 자지 니라 소와당 데베 레부 세와니 깨는 안 나면 안 나야 유라 롱제지 다니 동와 대시 유야 깨는 거 그래서 유라 롱제베 다니 동와 대답이 레부라 레바데 다 독인데 세대 오늘 레부레와 투세지 대답이 레부라 레바네 투인데 조율리지 파자체비세를 조율 년보다 시지 드발라 조와 체바기 리지 파자체비세로 체마야 인데 아니 텐더와텔라 코야 동아지 내버 주세로 대답이 아니 어디 짐바다 추줌라 아니다 주발미세토
So then the next verse it says, if you ask, in what way is it that one has has the knowledge, which is like this kind of having this kind of eye or a vision? How does one have that? And then the verse explains that one should not engage in generosity, which is like a poisoned thorn out of desiring for some kind of special result, which is either seen or unseen. So, in the beginning of that is, if someone whose eye of wisdom is open should not engage in that kind of generosity, which is like a poisoned thorns out of desiring the results of it. And then the commentary of here says, on this says, someone whose eye of wisdom is open, and then at the end of it says, should not engage in these forms of generosity and so forth. And so what are the results that someone shouldn't be trying to desiring in terms of the results which are visible, sort of in the present? It's thinking that if out of my generosity now, by giving a gift and so forth, I'll get some kind of something in return right now. I'll obtain some result from this generosity that I'm performing, and thinking that I'll get some kind of return on this right now in the present, and then desiring for some kind of result which is not in the present and not right at the present, is thinking by giving some gift now or performing generosity and so forth in the present, I'll be able to achieve results in the next life, such as, for example, getting a special kind of result like be born as a universal emperor, be born as Indra, etc., and thinking that out of that kind of out of a desire for that kind of result, then practicing the practice of charity and so forth. Or one could think as well that even if I'm born into a low state of existence, if I perform charity now, I'll be able to be a person who enjoys a lot of pleasure and so forth in the present. And so that kind of desire for results, either in the present or the future in that way, is poison. Because it serves as an obstacle to, it injures the body of liberation here, metaphorically, the body of liberation, or it prevents one from entering into the path of liberation, one could say. And that's like a thorn as well, because it causes one to be injured by the sufferings of samsara. So that being the case, one should not engage in one's practice of generosity or ethical conduct, etc., out of those kinds of motivations.
Oh, yeah, that didn't take us or it. That Toma Tedida, Madonwa, Anita Chimala, Devujuala, Revi Chitu, Anichimata Tudumla Sola, Juba Mishena, when a cheetah was she let them by Chachana. Cheetah was she let them by Chachana. Ninja Tamje, Kimbe, Koson Yando Tabai. Jila sola zhenji tela yini neme xie jie xia de o de yin jie tang yin jie sem jian le me be yin jie cha ba dan de wa tang o dan nian zha yo wa ta ra la de wa yo wa ta ane dian sem an dian ba la so qi ma yin ba gun long ten zhe ge qi ma yin ba tam jie jian ba ni ko na la ji dun me ne 제도 잡아 섬전도 라니 안안 바야다 봐 저거 산제 저 거봐 토바 대박 뭐지 참제 뒤치도 참제 잡아 니 코나라 미네 된다위 랑게 톱지 아니 장주제 토바 체 참제 체바 뭐 장주 토바 체위 7 아니 오지마 땅와 대한 아니 지마보다 강라 지유당 강진지 오버스 못해 아니 고소 라시지 마주봐 좋아 고소들 라시지 마주봐 아니 또비 고소 라시 마주봐 또비 아니 셰럽지 심미관에 아니 지마라 써와라 점바 체도 고소네 고소 못하고 송하다야 다야되잖아.
So then you say, well, okay, if I'm not supposed to perform charity, generosity, giving, and so forth, out of any kind of wish for a result in the present or in the future, in the terms outlined above, then how is it that I should make effort to perform these sorts of things, practice of generosity and ethical conduct and so forth? Then the next verse, verse 5, gives the reply to that. In order to, out of compassion, in order to achieve omniscience, one should make effort to engage in the practice of generosity and so forth in a way which is completely purified, or in which all three spheres are completely purified, and one should not even fix one's mind within that, even within that. So the explanation of that is given in the commentary as follows: out of compassion, one should do these things not in order to achieve some fame, or from the wish to achieve happiness, or out of competition with others, but solely being focused upon the achievement of omniscience alone. And in order to achieve that, one should do that, and one should strive to do these things in a way in which one's generosity and so forth is completely purified in terms of the three spheres. Now the three spheres are explained as oneself as the agent who is performing the action. Let's take charity as an example, or generosity as an example. Oneself as the agent that's performing the action. Then there's the thing which you're giving, the object which which you're giving. That is the object there. And then the recipient as sort of like the indirect object of the gift, or the person to whom whom you're performing the charity. You should see all of these things as being essenceless, devoid of any kind of intrinsic nature, and then make effort to that kind of generosity.
Oh yeah, that didn't. Kosum 제대로 다니 전에로 단다 코숨니 코숨보 타고 사중 안지다 오마디 잘하다. 아니 코숨니 용서 타바니 저만 매바데 리지 미게 와나바 숨체. 소저 마지는 로바에 봤음 마그 뒤엔 참아 가자시다. 리지 미게와 아니 예지 미게와 나선 라다 숨다 차싱 세다 코숨 차싱 저만 매비 짐발라 잡아 샤바고 다지 코숨 되라 자야지 다다지 공도 샤바 나신 전에 짐바 진짜 램보 동배 또 지된데 바로 진시차 전에 우마 주발라 소바나지 짐바당 아니 짐바보다 아니 짐부지 가나 지요 lembabu dinda 대다라 아니 대선보다 미미바도 봐 코스 미미바도 다시 시와 나시 미미바도 담바 얘기 예수 승비 코스 용서 다바탕 코스 용서 다바탕 다 주만 매봐서야 돼 지도라 다와 지다 아니 계단 매게 매다와 로바다와 인세 렌데 매바다와 타심베 따와세 아니 지디 미유도 주에 따데 따바 따바 야나 쳐바 따와 등이라 탄진들라 여다당 쳐다니 요아 이거라 나 지비 미도 주 따탄에도 요아라 와 탄에도 용경에 나데 따바 따와 야나 쳐바 따와 윤 쳐바 따 자외 되게 어딘데 지 가서 고소 양수답이 처마서야 돼 다도 장을 다와장 차외 참아미비 예수 장비 고소 원수 다바탕 너바다 소다 소메비 컴 오버 메데베 아니 가서 오바 메데베세 야니기 저와 오바 메데베 감수데 야니 저와 메데베 멤버 메베 온도 저베 코서 온도 타바고 야니기 저와 멤버 메베 멤버 메베 온도 저베 코서 온서 타바고 야
So then there's two different ways we can construe these three spheres. The three spheres, one can understand them on just in the conventional level of that in terms of their purity and the complete purity of them. So the purity of the three spheres here can be read in two different ways. As far as their complete purity, it says it means their stainlessness. That's a gloss on total purity of them. And so we can understand this in terms of the three doors of activity, the body. There are the three types of non-virtuous actions that are performed with one's body, four types of non-virtuous actions performed verbally, and then the three types of non-virtuous actions which are performed mentally. So being free from those kinds of non-virtuous forms of action, the 10 non-virtues, bodily, physical, verbal, and mental. That's if one is free from those, and then makes effort to perform generosity and so forth in a stainless fashion, being separate from those non-virtues, then that's one way of reading one way of glossing the three spheres being pure or free from these stains. Another way to read it, as given above, is to take the giver, the agent. I'm sorry. First comes the object which you give, the thing which one gives, comes first. Then the agent that performs the action of giving, yourself in this case, as the person who's doing the giving, and then the person who's receiving it, the recipient of the gift that you're giving. You, by not observing them, this is a technical term, non-observation of them means that one one sees them as empty. That is, one understands the essencelessness of self as agent of giving, the essencelessness of the gift, the essencelessness of the recipient in all three ways. And so by not observing them as being real, then one through so that's the total purity of the three spheres in accordance with emptiness. That's the first form of this. And then likewise, there's another part to this in which the three spheres are completely purified by following, by approaching them in terms of their signlessness. And this is explained as being that they're understanding them free from the wrong view of the collection of the aggregates as being real, free from any kind of wrong view in general, and then free from the views that it grasp at things as being extreme in an extreme fashion. The view of grasping things, misapprehending things in an extreme fashion refers to if you take the self as an object and you think the self is absolutely existent and thus is eternal or permanent in that way. That's one side of this extreme view. And then the other extreme would be to take the self or the person as if it was not an agent that continues to experience the results of the actions that one is performing in the present. So that leads one into a nihilistic kind of perspective. So free from those kinds of views, one engages in the signlessness of things, and that's another way of treating the three spheres as being completely pure. And then another way to take this in terms of the three spheres as being completely pure is to do it in such a way that one doesn't have any kind of wish. The wishlessness here is the third, and what that means is that one doesn't have any strong desire for anything within the desire realm, the physical realm of meditative absorption, or the non-physical realms of meditative absorption.
Oh yeah, I'm telling you, 가서 제라 소라 저진이 세대 칭찬해 나 디제라 대랑 이진내님 대랑 이니네 미샤 제시와니 탐제 전반이라 차반 매바세 탐제님 차반이 대라야 차반 매바세 대자양 지게도 대라 장주선바 너바 중앙이 강세나 강창주 믿어봐니도写送吧 다들 가서 그래서나 아니 창주 믿어봐니 신시가나 제 창주 어느 가서라 양발 선배관에 야라서라 차바차 산나시 티시셔와 양발 소미관에 안에 티시셔와라 차차와다 티시셔와라 소와 토바 믿어봐 내가 자꾸 메조사 잘라서라 차바자서나 시에 내가 장주 너바 중앙이 강세나 장주 믿어봐 니도 장주 장주 담발 수묘관에 안에 장주 믿어봐 담발 수묘관에 장주 믿어봐 니 예수 봤다고
So then here, regarding this, it says in the last line of this verse as well that they don't even fix their minds in that. So what that refers to is they are devoid of any attachment even to omniscience itself. And this is explained as follows in a passage from a sutra that's quoted from a sutra. Here, if you say, and the quotation goes, if you say, what is the smallness of the desire of a bodhisattva, it's that the bodhisattva doesn't desire even awakening. So how are we to understand that? What that refers to is awakening, of course, is the object of bodhicitta, the wish to achieve awakening for the sake of all sentient beings. But here this is meaning that when one does this properly, one doesn't have attachment, desire to even that, in the sense that one doesn't even view that as being real. There's other passages which illustrate this as well, that, like for example, when a person is performing performing prostrations to a Tathagata and so forth, that they shouldn't be attached to the Tathagata even as being real.
Oh yeah. There's a somebody that Shiramana Jimbala Soa Kawa Tony Nyara Sabajang Anikaso Padura Chimba also told to Minjuru Sumbani Adi Dodibinana Shiramana Mime Padura Chimbagi Mibu Reba Mibu Meba Chanjuru and you talk about Reba in Savatra Chibana Chane. Oh, Shiramana Jisong over there. I would take it. I touch about top to a Jimbuchi Tamong. Lani, Lomaki, Laundry Meba, Ani, Rankan to be just Mendra did that. The Dodibinality so or then Hajichani. Yes, there is some Shiramana Chimbala so Kawatoni to Nyawa Sabajang, Paru Chimba also to the Juminju Reshesu, but teach Sheriff Gitat to Tambanis. Sheriff Dizing Womjedam, German now Tometam. Tabi Kansan Temgadam, you won't be made. Or Sheshavala saw Medis. Shiramni, Shiva Rabo, Takabdi, Sheraton Amje, Nerula Bisharam. Can you do the tendency, tender be share of the Duzide? Ani Kiwadan, Gashi maybe near Tobacco, Ani or Kashime Bachibi, Ani near Tobacco doing Bishero. No, can you want to in there? You on but Durban Dobe, you la on but Tobacco, Dejan Dobe, Sidu Jamba Kibichide. Kanda publish share of Jim, one but Tetani, one by you know, she's in Bishero.
So then, next it says that let's see, I'm sorry, I got lost in. So then next comes, it says that if one doesn't have wisdom, even if one was to accumulate the merit that would be achieved through performing thousands of eons of generosity and so forth, it would not function as the cause for the complete perfection of the perfection of the perfections. So what this is referring to here is, it's just as it is said in the abbreviated Perfection of Wisdom Sutra, where it says that wisdom is like the eye, which enables all of the other perfections to pass over and become perfections in the sense of fulfilling the achievement of Buddhahood. So the first 5 perfections of generosity, ethical conduct, and so forth, if they're not performed with this eye of wisdom, then they don't become actual perfections, because on the method side, if it's not governed by wisdom, it doesn't function as an actual perfection. It doesn't serve to be the full cause for the achievement of Buddhahood. And so then this is given in so therefore, what is the next in the next verses is taught the power of wisdom. So here it says that wisdom is the nectar which satisfies. It's a lamp, a shining lamp without any kind of obstruction. And it's the staircase which leads to the mansion of liberation. And it's the fire which incinerates the firewood of the mental afflictions, etc. And the rest of the verses will come later. So here it says, wisdom is the best kind of knowledge, prajna, and then there's a gloss on that. There's the supreme kind of knowledge, and it is that very wisdom is nectar, here nectar of immortality, because it serves as the cause for obtaining the state which is free from aging, aging and death, the deathless state. So the word amrita means, again, immortality, and it's nectar of immortality. So this wisdom is the cause for achieving this state which is free from aging and death. That is satisfying because it gives rise to the pliability which enables one to be free from attachment and desire for objects.
Oh, yeah.
Dire.
다 걸려서. Oh, yeah.
Kanta papishirak.
자송. Oh, yeah. 대체 간다 밥이 싫으면 좀 오바 텐니 오바 이노 되려왜? 어찌도 저바 집이 싫어 어째 대신체 다 싫어. 데려다 싫어 되니 드라마 인데 라 드라마 인데 나와서 그러 미시비 뭐 좀비 싫어. 되니 나와 톰에 인데 톰밤에 나와 인데 아니 패지고 와다. 아니 뉴지 체말려다 니비 롱타거자 나와데 미션 비시로 세데라 드면 나와 토메탕 세세 드면 나와 토메탕 타비 가산 템가탕 세가나 아니 다들 대이 아니 타비 가산단 자위 템가인데 양알레데 총지 아니 지단란데 와라 엄바 파와탕 양아는 대비 전지 지단 탐자랑 엄바 파와다 아니 가서 수바 나신 이제 라데 chanju연라 준비되게 chanju연라 그 가와게 뭐 상비 내수 제비 아니 가서 얘기하다 좋아이노
So then the rest of this verse is glossed, and it says, one who is satisfied by this Arya knows this Arya wisdom, the wisdom of the Aryas, or noble beings that have achieved a knowledge of the reality. They are satisfied. This is a reference to a sutra passage as well, probably. So that very wisdom is a lamp because it destroys the darkness of non-knowledge, of not knowing things. And the radiance of that is unobstructed because it cannot be destroyed by, it can't be interfered with or destroyed by opponents, and it's not something that because its radiance cannot be interfered with by opponents, or here it says like the butterflies of Mara and the wind of the faults as well. They can't interfere with the radiance of that light. That is also, it's called the staircase to the palace of liberation. And so liberation here refers to, is also metaphorically called the city of Nirvana, which is superior, elevated above the entirety of the world, transcends the world. And it's adorned with the pillars of the eightfold path, or the parts of awakening, the factors of awakening. This refers to the eightfold path, etc. And so this wisdom functions similar to a staircase, which enables one to ascend up to this kind of wonderful palace.
Oh yeah. 가서 자주연라 그 gemba 대상분에서 집이 야갔다고 탐가다고 인지라다 야갔다고 좋아면 탐가다고 좋아 대니 몸이 배신습이 매야 인데 세대오 이몸 배신습바 인 세대 나 매습바 신도 니 몸에 찬정 말려봐 아니 습이 다니지요 니 몸에 찬정 말려봐 습이 다니 임비 싫어 네 로제 태양 다天着为写了罗这太那样罗这太阳等你呢难对呢那把你水是那把你来对呢俺那把你水话的是吧 对了，杨大团队绝对是杨大工作协话人。杨大工作协话人，我等你写了台记录，写了落在太阳，工作的太阳单位你来，对吧？工作的太阳单位你来对呢，俺那工作对吧？都被写了的太阳单位都被写了，你是对，是吧？然后呢，对不对？
So that radiance or that lamp of wisdom also is the fire which incinerates all of the firewood of the mental afflictions, and just as a forest is consumed in fire, so all of the various disturbances of the mental afflictions are. This lamp, this flame of wisdom, functions to burn all of those up as well. And then the next verse says that that intelligence, that intelligence is it depends upon the two realities, and therefore it's accepted as having two forms. That which is that which accords with the understanding of the real object, or the real object, the actual way things are, and is 양다 뜬독
人양다工作写完呢写完工作写完呢几点比写下话所以就几点比写下话应该是양다比全到把它结束特别的양다比工作写下话是양다比全到把它结束特别是的看的这个人身上把这的양다比全当年我说都比写起대당结束吞吧안에 돈이 퇴지 주지 또 비싸다. 자, 만들어서도 야. 양답이 된 또바단结束 튼비. 아니, 시 양답이 군조 시샤와 인호.
So thus this intelligence, which here intelligence is a word for this wisdom, is depending upon the two realities, is accepted as having two forms. There's what's called the knowledge of the correct knowledge of phenomenal things, and it's called that because it's in accordance with an understanding of the actual things, reality as such. So in this system, this is given in these two forms, here in the Swatantrika system. And so then the commentary explains that this intelligence of wisdom, knowledge of wisdom, is differentiated from the perspective of these the two realities, the phenomenal reality and ultimate reality. So it's accepted as having two forms. With regard to these, initially we'll discuss the first. There's what's called the correct knowledge of phenomenal things. This is called it's also called correct worldly knowledge.
Oh yeah, 나는 대참발라 자유사를 다유시야로. 대인나 바이비 관했던 바니. 지난 조금 지난 소나미 이시지 천남 것을 조제당. 그때 다그 대부당 대단 천이 나서 시. 참단년제 최고당 삼전대다 민제다. 제제 중에 담바이 시험 다다 시와차 자 시자와 송대. 진비 손이 다 가르래서 진도 소나미 시시 소나미 서 진비 손이 다 동화 첨보다 시도 첨보 다 삼바 안에 가서래 높여준기 와 삼바 개회 삼바 셈셈 삼바라서 또 쳐준 저기나 진비 손이 동화 첨보다 시도 동바오 소나미 손이 아니 대바다 파여봐 아니 파여상 아니 지대면 양답에 따와 양답에 따와서 야디 빠져려.
So now then, with regard to this correct worldly knowledge, correct phenomenal knowledge, So the first of these two kinds of wisdom or knowledge, intelligence, literally, it refers to phenomenal knowledge, which is correct. And another name for this is correct worldly knowledge. And because this accords with an understanding of the actual way things are, it's also given the name correct phenomenal knowledge. This is differentiated in multiple ways, and the next verses explain the differentiation of this. And it functions so as to enable one to fully complete the accumulations of generosity, merit, and gnosis. And it's the result of the Kandi Nyamasong Gyude Daki Drebutan Gyude Daki Drebutan Tan Ila Sokshe Jamdang Ninje Chegompa Simshin Dutang Minchita Keche Chuni Dembai Shira Dardak Sheparcha Shecha Chabodate Shirab Dardak Sheparcha Shirab Dardak Sheparcha Chindan Sunam Yeshiki Tsoknam Yonsu Tsochetang Gyudetaki Jebotang Jahadang Tsinila Sokshe Ale Jamdan Ninji. Oh, okay. So I'm going to try to make my way through this. So it's this worldly, this correct knowledge of phenomenal things, worldly conventional knowledge. Sometimes this is translated correct conventional knowledge. Has to do with the means for perfecting the accumulations of generosity, merit, and gnosis, and it's the results which come from those causes connected with that, and understanding the characteristics of those as well. The means has to do with the way in which one meditates upon love and great compassion, the way one draws sentient beings to you and matures them, and it's the way in which one utilizes the wisdom which depends upon the 12 spheres, cognitive spheres, in order to understand how things are designated with signs. So that's how the verses read, and then the commentary here explains that in some more detail. So as far as the accumulation of generosity, one can differentiate this in three forms. There's giving, there's a greater form of giving, and then a more intense form of giving. One can perhaps differentiate these according to the magnitude of the gift and or the motivation and so forth. And then as far as the accumulation, the mass of merit, this is referred to here as having faith, conscientiousness, and a correct view of worldly things, worldly correct view, etc. And then the accumulation of gnosis, or knowledge actually, has to do with the knowledge which arises from habituating oneself to hearing teachings, thinking about them, and then meditating upon them. No.
Oh yeah. That's it. Oh, you see, you told me, I need to walk down somebody on Gombala to be sure. Tenam Yonso Zoa Chapa, Nishero Taba Sheva Chades. Yantaba Kunto Sheva, Sheva Shawa Jaro, say Yantaba said, Yagan and so Yantabi turned over the Jesus Timbeji, Yantabi Kunto Sheva Chao, Sajiji Jayamba. That and the demon, Yantabi turned over the Chitumba said, I said, Tina Umarkinana Sani, not to try and turn it up. 아니 누이치당 미니치 양다 마임바 군좀이지 야와체 세반나신 체니 이르와 양다베트 ten도 받아 지tum바사 나돈 드라와당 나와다도 아니 텐셰바 안에 tenchaba towale tenchaba dara anu kunzo she wase yanda ba de su be kunzo shi tin ja me ro sa de o dara yanda be kunzo she wa yin de she cha wa ja ro gute da ge de wu she cha wa ni cho she cha wa ju sun bo de da na cha sang gu ma zu sum la sha na o ju sun bo de da de wu chi da wa dan de wa re这不其他人这话写话杨大表工作写话我就太大了但呢这不其他人这话就太大但这不太大就其他写话咱俩咱这位那么在写话这样杨大表工作写话的
So again, to repeat that last bit, the collection of knowledge or gnosis, depending on how one wants to gloss that, depending on the object of what it's understanding. This is the knowledge which comes about from accustoming oneself to hearing, thinking, and meditation, the three processes of gaining knowledge. And then that which perfects all of those to a completely is the wisdom which enables one to understand how things are connected to the signs that indicate them. And or one could read this maybe as one ought to know this is given the name of wisdom. It's designated by the name of wisdom. And so this is called correct phenomenal knowledge. Is knowledge. One reads that in that way, in that it knows phenomenal things in a correct fashion. And so the remainder of this discussion here actually hinges on, in the Swatantrika school, they make the differentiation between correct and incorrect phenomenal knowledge, and they use that kind of terminology to distinguish between knowledge of phenomenal things, which accords with the way things actually are, as opposed to knowledge of phenomenal things, which is not in accordance with the way things actually are. So they continue to elaborate on this, that this correct phenomenal knowledge is understanding things like, for example, that this is the result of these specific kind of causes, and that the collections of these things that were mentioned above, that were listed previously, that those three are functioning as causes, and they produce specific kind of results. Understanding how it is that there's a connection between those causes and those results, that kind of knowledge is what is defined here as correct phenomenal knowledge.
Oh yeah, that the colors use some show就是不得到周期的说吧，因为他那基本说起周围呢，我这他基本上我做一场，反正就开始就他那个周围就是先做些，他那基本说起周围呢，就全部参送就当，所以咱的百家上报家具，两边建备数据过，是啊。金巴给说那个做个这不得了，俺那受过主见。各位听，就我说那么一些错做性，说那么一些来行为，他们过年讨啊小钱那些呢，一家就两边见没出去过，说那么就做起这步呢，说那么就做起这步呢，这步呢出去过，这刚才说那么就做起这步呢。就那么说起这部了，这部呢，学过用过的做，俺的数个主钱，是吧？做数个主钱一样，这部怎么了？俺的学过用过那得数呢？做按说那么个错的数个主钱去做，一些去做的学过主钱去做，说那么个做的这部呢，学过越样越钱，是吧？一些去这部。做起这部呢，根本没简单的没写了不写的，但求过主去一些个做钱，一些个做起这部了，俺那让他们不样的不说，求过主吧，求过用过一张，一些个做起这部呢，根本没简单的没写了么，这些话呢，就当这部这话的。 tela sam kaji ma mambu junya war sabi junji se sam kaji ma mambu junya war sabi junji asa da tene junji ma du lungi medo ke sewa pawata om de karse na kuma so ma du lungi medo ke sewa marwa tabu am ona ya ho chana sabi da nyugi jindar sem gaji ma xian la zhewu ji bi ni ba yue bai ni bu jun da se gaji la chima la de rang de ge zhewu ji bi ni ba yue bai te da ju dan zhewu xie wa yang ani yang da bu kun zu xie wa re te da xie wa de yang da bu kun zu xie wa re se di yong ge me do sa mo cha ko ma su da yin
So then this is explained further about this correct phenomenal knowledge, correct knowledge of phenomenal things. Here it says that the result of the collection or accumulation of generosity is the physical embodiments of Buddhahood, which are, for example, the bodies of Buddhas that are ornamented by properly ornamented by the 32 signs of a superior person, a great person, as well as the 80 so-called minor marks or 80 indications, 80 excellent indications of a great person. So the physical body of a Buddha is adorned with those, properly adorned with all of those signs and marks. And then the primary result, then the text here actually says the result of the collection of merit is the Dharmakaya, but one probably has to read this as meaning that it's a sort of Dharmakaya is produced from the collection of merit in a secondary sense, whereas it's really the collection of gnosis which is the primary cause of the Dharmakaya. And normally one would say that the collection of merit serves, the result of that is the principal cause, a principal result of that is the physical embodiment of Buddhahood, the Sambhogakaya and Nirmanakaya. But here it's saying Dharmakaya, so one probably wants to read that as saying that that in addition to producing the physical embodiments of Buddhahood, the massive collection of merit has as a secondary result the Dharmakaya as well. And then the result of the collection of gnosis is the knowledge which here it says in a single moment. This is referring to the actualization of unexcelled true perfect awakening in a single moment, that a full awakening in a single moment, which is characteristic of the Buddhahood, the achievement of Buddhahood. The relationship between these is, or knowledge of relations, is a characteristic of this correct phenomenal knowledge, or worldly correct phenomenal knowledge, is understanding the relationship between causes and their effects. And so one can understand things such as through the accumulation of a mass of specific moments, like if you take a stream of many instants of something, out of that stream of instants, then one puts together a continuity. And then the example that's given here is like there's a word here that looks like some kind of transliteration of a Sanskrit word, which we're not exactly sure about, but it's referring to the red filaments that one sees in a flower. Maybe it's saffron, I'm not sure. But in any case, in a flower that has red filaments, you see within that a stream of a collection of various particular segments of that continuity, and so altogether it makes up a continuity of something. So knowledge of things like that, understanding how it is that seeds and sprouts exist in continuums, understanding how it is that moments of mind give rise, have the ability to generate effects in the future. So essentially understanding in various ways the relationship between relations between causes and effects, whether one's talking about physical causation, such as the way flowers are put together, or streams of consciousness, streams of mind are put together to produce causes and effects. Those sorts of things are all examples of this, what's called correct phenomenal knowledge, or correct knowledge of phenomenal things.
Oh yeah. Medok minji said modulung medok sawati medok minji said that is all. That didn't Zhedan Chenyi said, due to Shaka的Zhedan said, Chenyi Lasso she said, Zhedan Chenyi Lasso said, Jeva Shavajan, that Chenyi Lasso Shavani, Chenyi Jevani, Chernamji, Ani Chenyi, Chernamji, Chenyi, Randaji, Cheranamba Yides, Ani Rangi Chenyi, or Rangi Chiyu Tang. Yamba, Tapena, Sajani, Pumbota, or Sona, Mitabata, Bunga, what the Rangi Chiyuta. Don't want that dame, any castle, cheese and shire. Yang, Jotuchila, Midadunga, Don, Damishi, cheese and yidang, Rangi Tanyidang. Ani, Damba Mabati cheese and yet, that didn't do, but the Tedan Jawacheta, the Rangi Tanyi, Rangi, or Rangi Chiyu, the Dambanala. Damba, number toba maybe Shiva, never soon a chow, so the Randa Chi, Tanyidi, and number toba meba, Tunjida Madrivaki, and Shiva, never soon a chow. Chi Tanini, Jesu Bobby Shiva, number toba chow, that de la Rangi Tanyidi, Ranze, and that you Umawana Shicha, then it down. Pache Mobi. Doji Umawa, Dodawa Nasi Cheni, Musum Jung, you to Chua, the Rangi Tenida, Chi Tenida, and a Javaga used to Chuala, and a Chi Tenida, this you said it. Jidan Ranjan, Randa Chi Ten Jota Mambo Yoa, and Dylan Doduchi Umalanjuba, Dodawa Tumba Yinza, Telaranga Teni, Rango, Judan, number Toba Meba. Shivan, I was soon a war, said Musumji to Chua. Or Musumji, never Chava. G. Tany, Jesus Baba Chevi, Shawa, number Toba Cheji, Toba Chow, Siriga, or Dala Tena Toba Chawagi, and it's that G. Tany. Or Soba, Shawa Denny, Monidan, Dadang, Tabadang, Ani, Tamadang.
So then next in the verse there it says that this correct worldly knowledge of phenomenal things, it also knows the characteristics of things, or one actually could translate this as also as sort of identity of things. And so with respect to the characteristic or identity of phenomena, there's specific characteristics or specific unique identities, and then there's the general or common sort of characteristics of things, and so they're differentiated in these two types, specific and universal, actually. So here there's different ways to understand these terms: specific identity or specific characteristic, and general identity or general characteristic of things. These can be understood in different ways. For example, like a functional thing has as its specific identity or specific characteristic that it's a product, it's something that's created by causes and conditions. and then but it also has as its characteristic it's being empty and being selfless. But because being empty or being selfless is a identity which applies not only to created things which are produced by causes and conditions, but also to uncreated things like space, which are not produced by causes and conditions. Then with respect to those two categories of things, created and uncreated things, selflessness and emptiness are general characteristics or characteristics that apply to both categories of things, as opposed to being a product or something. But here, what this is probably referring to more specifically is within this system of Madhyamika that Master Bhavaveka has taught, there are elements of it that are common to what we find in the Sautrantika tradition and the Sautrantika philosophy. And in Sautrantika, they differentiate between unique particulars and things which are universals. Now, unique particulars refer to specific things which have as their specific characteristic the functionality, and they exist as unique particulars that are functional. Whereas these universals, just to speak kind of broadly about this, universals are more like categories or abstractions which subsume particulars under them and are used, that thought uses to organize and differentiate among different categories of things. So a universal is something that within this system doesn't exist in any kind of objective sense, but rather is a thought construct which is only cognized conceptually. And so when we engage in inference, for example, and we do so through the medium of these universals, which are appearing as concepts within the mind. And that's probably what's at issue here. So it says here that unique particulars are things which have their own specific character, and they function as the objects for an awareness which is devoid of conceptuality, or one could even say devoid of constructive sort of mental activity. So, and they're to be ascertained by those kinds of awarenesses. So mostly what we're talking about here is percepts, the objects of perception, which in the Sautrantika system are understood as unique particulars. And then with regard to these what are called sometimes generally characterized phenomena, or things which are universals, these are things which are to be understood by conceptual processes, such as, for example, the sorts of knowledge that comes about through inference. And then where it says etc. within that portion of the text, the word etc. refers to understanding the basic nature of things, understanding the symbols that we use to designate things, the process of designation, understanding the indications of things, like the signs which indicate that something's going to come into existence, understanding how things operate and how they're taken up, and all of those sorts of things are included under that category.
我讲的谢谢我呢，我得让个他参你去谢谢我呢，然后那把也把他谢为落这的谢了的太阳阳他们估计谢我有那好钱，但呢，还是到我的了，참다 년제 체험다 삼전된다 민제당 세가라 참바다 년제 고민 샤와니 참바다 년제당 당념당 가와다 당념주 콤바 쳐봐 오세가라 달로디 대용 오建이 안에 대라 콤바 쳐봐 是吧 참바다 년제 고민 시다 로디 대용 오建이 콤바 콤시에 되면은 참다 년제 고민 샤와데 참바다 년제다 가와다 당념 쳐봐 콤바 쳐봐 오 身见对切完呢，西部太大当， 시부 콘도 시아바 그 참바단 이제 다 가와다는 시부 대다다 대다상 아니 짐바다냐 바마발라서 그 두영어 시위 아니 섬자남 누바 섬자 마음에 바람 민바 샤발라서 와게 아니 현지 퇴제 현지 미제 제대 현지 미제 세대 미제 제차와네 섬자 대다 그 주라 개위치 조배 다 참 대다 그 개위치 그 바자 조배라마 개위치 조바 바자다 아니 대다라 때네 아니 대단테 시와게 아니 개와 개와 인자 개위치 조배 간다 용서 멤버 쳐보고 간다 용서 멤버 쳐보고 스체 섬자 뒤다 면제탕 스체 나 제지 주니 가서 멤버 쳐보고 민지 쳐보네 섬자 되지고 멤버 쳐보고 대다 시비 शेरा खाएं बातें 아니 양다be 군도 시와 인체 되네 다 제제 주니 뭐 다장 시가라 아니 수찬지 제제 주是吧？安邦啊的天啊，俺一姐姐当，去姐姐你去干了，就注意的嘞。安邦啊的天啊，一姐姐去干了，姐姐注意的吧嘞。姐姐注意点比写起完你没了所谓姐姐注意不他。然后那把姐那边他那个说给，俺呢我当做啊，俺呢然后那把姐那边写了看一把我。지금에 와다시 네 셔럭인 다다바 나르다바 임바 시와 차데 셔럭은 다다바 만도 세라 셔럭 임바 차와요 말해서 거 이제 양다베 군도 시와 유노 야
So there, again, back to this knowledge. This knowledge is a kind of intelligence which understands all of these various kinds of differentiations that have been enumerated above, and this sort of intelligence is what is called this correct phenomenal knowledge, or sometimes worldly phenomenal knowledge. Worldly phenomenal knowledge as well. So here then the rest of the verse goes on to say that meditation upon love and great compassion, that refers to developing and habituating oneself to love, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity, those four great attitudes, conditioning oneself to those, habituating oneself to those. And then the verse says the attraction of sentient beings, collecting sentient beings or attracting them to you. That is explained in terms of the four things that are just mentioned, by practicing love, compassion, equanimity, sympathetic joy, then one can draw others to you and to help them. And then likewise, attracting other sentient beings to you by means of the four means of attraction, which were mentioned previously, speaking correctly and acting in accordance with the way you speak and so forth, and by giving gifts in those four means of attraction. Then where it says maturing sentient beings, this refers to completely maturing all of sentient beings, other sentient beings, by establishing them within their streams of existence, their mental and continua, the virtuous dharma within the mind streams of other sentient beings. And knowledge of these things, because it's a kind of wisdom, and because it's a kind of wisdom, this is called correct phenomenal knowledge. It's given that name. This is likewise a kind of wisdom which is able to differentiate among all of the various kinds of distinguish all of the different kinds of processes that are going on within the cognitive spheres. Here, cognitive spheres refers to the physical sense organs, as well as the objects of the sense organs, and then the mind as a cognitive faculty, as well as the objects of the mind. And so it's able to properly discriminate among all of these kinds of things. So it's also a type of wisdom in that respect as well. So all of these things which have been mentioned above, they're nominally called wisdom, and that's why they're given the name knowledge here. And so what this means, nominally called, or they're assigned the name or sign wisdom, in that to distinguish this from like the ultimate form of wisdom, which will be discussed subsequently. And I'm not really sure. And this is what this discussion then is what explains this correct phenomenal knowledge. It's very long. So maybe we'll stop there.
Om Benza Bhumi Om Wanchen Silki Sashi Om Benza Reke Ahum Chi Jari Boyuni Goresu Babo No Zamboni No Bolan Ramina Jetsun Lame Rapten sa
진단이 배.
gi dro tu
네, 조지.
Idam
구루라나 맨달라가니 아자야미. 조sen 조rem보제 마제 바나제 제와냐고메 고네 공두배와쇼 동이다와 렘보제 마제 바나제 제와냐고메 고네
The mind of enlightenment is supreme and most precious. Where it has not arisen, may it arise. Where it has arisen without any decline, may it only grow stronger and stronger. The view of emptiness is supreme and most precious. Where it has not arisen, may it arise. Where it has arisen without any decline, may it only grow stronger and stronger. Song sin ye nang tre so ye jen zap mo ji do se song se la me den ba gan dro pe so then soaks in and droop Juden so Trugi Shing Da Wa Chin Chan Po Rong Shan Tun Yi Lu Yi Dru Pa Yi Gu Shi Kak Ni Yi Jan A Cher Pe Pe Ko Tsen Tsum Me Che Tsum Lama So Wa Te She Dan Pa Sing Jiru Pa Ye Shin Ik Ma Kyu Pe Tu Long Do Tan Chu Su Shin Sin Pa Yi Ne Tun Sin Temple Your Chun Cho Dong A Chu De Di Wa Ga Wei Ye Tu Long Sa Be Pa Ta Do they have comments? Then you say don't pa your chun chok dong chun yi lu wa me ba la le ba den da chok wa dong le can so dak ma bu le
대단히 거리 많이 무슨 거리
Does everyone have Jangsi Chiji's long life prayer? Do they have, do the most? 강계 돈예
내 자식이 있거든.
유빈강은
야, 좋지. 야.
Sandra Wangburg Dong Ak Jong Luk Ji Ji Sik Be Lo Kel Sang Dul Jar Yong Sang Che Dan Song Rob Sang Sul Trim Dan Sin Dak Be Ni Kyu Dor Jing O Den Juk So Mang De Che Bong Du Zek Ling Bor Yin Su Shin Sam Bei Chen Dong Un Pa Dra Gong Juk De Dra She Rap Se Kya Ba Sin Je Ko Shi Ka Shap Den Shok Gang Lo Ta Dra Kien Pe Long Yang Le Kel Sang Du Jar Pen De Du Jar Bong Gel Dan Se Su Gyuk Se Chu Zin Wang Che Ke Lu Drup Ni Par Shap Den Shuk Lok Dok Chang Dek Kung En Long Pu Gyu Ti Me Rik Pe Che De Mi Tse Be Chik Jar Jom Se Ma We Senge Che Su Ke Chok I Lang Bo Shap Den Chok Sap Tang Kya Che Dun Den Phum Ba Sang Da Da Yang Ki Drang We Lek Che De Kel Sang Lo Yi Ter Pu Chin Sin Ba Song Ke Pa Wu Daru Sap Den Shuk Dor Na Jam Kan Lo Te Wang Bu Jung Kun Du Sang Bu Cha Bun Yong Sok Ba She Drup Den Pe Kyal Tsen Sin Ba Da Drel Sem Ba Jem Por Shap Den Shuk Gang Je Lo Pe Pe Ma Kar Bu Sa Mi Tun Ken Ki Nam Yang Mi Tsi War Ngan To Drap Dong Nam Pa Tra Wa La Nghe Lek Chuk I Yong Su Dam Kyur Jik Flak Sam Dak Pe Moon Pe Yer Lin Le Trung Pe Re Gong Pak Sam Yong Du Jong Dön Yi Dre Bu Yur cha tempa ye chok nam gyun du dra shi bar gyu chi.
Oh yeah. 아니 다 다시 들이 다시 네 근데다 진작지가 이제나 시작하다 아니 돼와 시작을 되어 마음을 놓쳐 아니 돼 뒤나섬 되라 니말 뒤나 재문되나 니망아 그러다 그래서 장고를 뭐지 깔로나 샤나 셰체체네 그 도고보와는 뭐 아니 뭐 나시에 또 시와인스
So yes, over the last 3.5 weeks, I was happy to be able to teach a little bit of the 400 verses of Aryadeva, and then because there was some time left over, in accordance with the advice of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, I wanted to teach a little bit at the beginning here of the Tarkajwala, the Blaze of Reasoning of Master Bhaviveka, and happy to have the opportunity to do that.
아니 뭐 가서 장고를 뭐지 대 샤소 코에 가라 안돼 제발에 미망 참말라 안에 가로 제시게와 나요레스 좋아 어때나시 그 장고를 좀 깔로도 그 삼마게 인장 체체 아니 잘해 대화 지나야지다 아니 가서 말아 이나야 아니 들으스 가나 소시 대 아니 틴디 상제다 팀바기 아니 상제단 제위 뭐다 대상 배 아리나를 거인나야 로셔버든데 아니 최라 전환체가 뭐 용도 안테나신데 나랑도 지나라야 요아레소네 어 텐조라 그 텐도 제제제네 아니 상제단 아니 좀더 지나샤 도가 봐왔더니 스토네 아니 텐조라 펜도 체기 지금 가서래 디나니 이제 숨제 가져 주나야 아니 텐디 주나야 보여야 되잖니 아니 가서 가로 산이 펴서 가서 아마 캠부강가 여사지 강가 가로 집혀서 아니 가서 아마 수용가 나라야 자가 자와인 뒤지가나야 가로 다가난 것도
So thus, I'm now His Holiness, of course, has come here many times, and as he has honored Deer Park with visits here, and has given various kinds of teachings, and of course, it's ideal if we can try to understand those teachings to the best of our ability, and then put them into practice as much as we can, and then myself and some of the other abbots were instructed by His Holiness. If we could, if we had the opportunity, if we were in America, we could teach a little bit of this text here, the Tarkajwala, and a couple of times he's given that advice, and it's only now that we've had the opportunity to do that to a limited degree at least, and so that's very good.
Organizing 2 or 3 week-long kind of
I'm sorry, I didn't catch. No. So he's also said, I think if I didn't catch that last part, I guess. So he's advised that if we can organize a more extensive teaching on this subject matter, particularly this text, because it has lots of information on both Buddhism, the Buddhist teachings, as well as some of the non-Buddhist practices as well, then that would be good as well.
다 가르쳤어.
Right. Is that right? Something like that, roughly? Okay.
아니 근데 인상 아니 다 말아도 돼. 아니 바카소래. 지당 라브린 지나고 요아리. 아니 도와 준주를 가리나 그게 남버지 치고와리. 아다 대답 맨다 봐리. 아니 남중의 뒤땡도 아니 사도도 채채. 아니 튕기다 산재단 저와기 거네 아니 장고도 뭐지 데려가서래 가좀 나왔더니 요아리 아니 대마인 바가 또가 바와당 아니 흉천부터 이렇게 뜨니 아니 저때 남배 치고 코도 야보 영야지 대한데 고도 야보지당 아니가 중심부 대다기 라렌 지당다 세당다 아니 동반이다 되니까 고도 야보지당 아니 로라 주와게 영향이 치료 매화장 많이 봐. 또 매화점 제제가 몽대지 제제와지나 아니고 걸리라야 미샤바지까지 시에잖아 고 주도 그랬어. 그때 뭐 가요 말았어. 장을 주 가능도 고 아니 가서래 참여 참빙과 진예서나 소소그 로브종체 아니 참여 참빙과 많이 나야 배지 이제 야보지 제그 로 템포 영야지 주나 아니 되라 주와지야 줘요 말았어. 뭐 되니까 나도 대인들 간다다 말아도 돼. 배 가서래 진짜 토라. 修全部可能存在记，那边存在记，让下头国家不写我记当，俺那提那呢，俺就开始学的嘞，俺那前句老人也不写我写完了，我把人我的也不写，我们刚才写不给，俺那他去掐做当。写了个车子当，他进入刚才代表个，他去车子做马些干没有啊的。我听到他得多个包了，毛听我的话，我听那些钱呢，做的录不中钱的，他开车学去把这些钱呢，而且他听完那个对了，谈到对这的也不是人啥说呢，刚宣布定做的也不先对原干。要把原干别落他妈说呢，没落他妈的下一个刚才提卡度了，提卡度了，俺让对，俺那大卡的说的，情感的，俺那都切西的。领着也不去用上呢，俺那也不去骗我也不用，骗到也不去骗我是，俺那的忙不了骗到用个人身体的干那个都，等于咱们但的老上的主要有啊嘛的参嘛个，俺那光把切些那些，是吧？我录中的了，俺学的大概就是的嘞。
So now these teachings that we've received, we've heard and received, these are things that are that require a great deal of study to master them. They're not something that one can just immediately gain a complete, total knowledge of. So it's something that we need to integrate within ourselves. It's not something just to hear, have a little bit of interest in it, and then think, oh, now I understand that, and then sort of set it aside. These are things that we need to internalize and to apply to our lives so as to make them part of ourselves and part of make our lives meaningful in this way. And then it's important that we not just sort of learn these things as sort of intellectual knowledge to be able to then sort of speak about widely to others just out of some kind of wrong motivation. Rather, these are things to be applied to ourselves so as to be able to make ourselves better and to help others. And so all of these, there's a lot of the basic thing that we need to incorporate here is the teachings which are given within the basic stages of the path kind of presentation of the teachings. Those things are important to apply to ourselves, just as was given here in the Tarkajwala in the Blaze of Reasoning. At the beginning portion of it is presenting basic elements of the path that we find within the Lamrim, the stages of the path and so forth. So we need to, as much as we can, to try to internalize those within ourselves. And then on top of that, then there are more profound or are more difficult and profound teachings on things like emptiness and so forth. Those have to be studied carefully, systematically, and gradually, and then to try to develop some understanding of those and apply them within our minds and within our lives as well. And so if we do that properly and we develop this systematically, we'll also be in a position to be able to teach these things to younger people that have interest in this, and to establish a kind of continuous tradition that will be able to endure and to be beneficial to people for a longer period of time.
是我真的一张，俺那咱老上的用过马的的，俺得马上就得，刚说听见都过来，俺那个听见也不长远的。 아니 다 가서 우리 잡자 지혜래 대당 된대당 아니 된대 초이 통에 아니 파수 유예체제 장고를 무지 깔로 나와서 파수 몇 강가가 치와 체체 아니 너나 시험 봐 아니 가서 퇴계 시간 들이 봐지 총선아 아니 너나 시험 봐다 아니 그냥 봐줘 또 체체 총선아 아니 대 남경구 매치 찬야 강요와대 시샤 그 토네 아니 대마연 바기 아니야 왜 미사기 아니 디라치니기 이 좀 됐지다 이 되게 장으로 보지 디라니 스카나고도 어 디라니 되게 가나 아니 로제 아버지 템플 체체 아니 디토네 아니 봐 이제 가서래 주고 직초도 줘서나 아니 뒤 잠바지 간대 연구도 아니 뒤 냠용라 싸제 아 마음 봐라 아니 간디간에 자식 가르치고도 저배 근데 이제 마음 봐나 아니 장고를 좀 패와래 마베나야 아니 아주 디디 채와인 야고 판도 디디 영화도 도수 있어야지 아니 쉬야지 그래야 배 개체 뭐 쇼를 상고도 아주 라 간난 거 아주 도요 간난 그래 단데 이내 당에 내수 쉬고인 디디디 채와인세 아니 전화주 이나야 마음 봐게 아니 배 자식 아버지 땡제 아니 담보디라니 이제 드니 편도 야보 용어 지나 튕제 아버지가 주선하잖아 아니 양콜아야 진짜 빠네 아니 가져 치고로 써야지 아니 편도 연하 때에도 왜 아버지가 된다디 말한도 때문에 걔나 뭐 죽겠라기 담보디 거지가 되네 원에 되네 주숨소와 아버지 차요 할 때. 요 얘들 하나 그때 같이 쟁기들이 봐 뒤에 무슨 소와 텐데지 여기 가나다 말한데 죽당제 아니 장고를 붙이 쉐바다 제가 아니 투신 나신 뒤에 지 요청할 때라 아니 만도 참마기 그리고 참마 너도 참마기 배 뭔가 치세 제전에 강제 디나네 로브주치 로브주진저라 배 로브주 야보지 전에 최진 냠리 야보 영향이 현변 친경기 로브주치 태야다 개천부 쇼치 차요리 대인자 참마기 공부 야보지 세제 아니 또 주나바지야 두고 세세체 아니 말아도 되나야 권한주의 공부 세세체 안 그래 어린자들이 로제 아버지 세체 아니 노래 야제 영향 된다라 아니 뒤에 가서래 공부 해야 될까 첨벌이상 그래서 송하다가 거기 최저 잡았는데 요아래 준저라 아니 가서래 저와리 치스가 나서데 아니 대화체니 간다까지 시에서 가게 면도가 가서 도와깔로들이 시바에 대화체니 된다 파지 되게 시에 잡면도데 이나들 까나서 아니 마음 보이나야 왕아란 저파 가서래 대 최소 삼바 진리 요아리 뭔가만 최소 요아리 아니 로살린 최소 요아리 마게스레 제도야 어 텐데 멤버나 체제 까나서 어 텐데 돌아야 파수 예배 영국당 파지 제와 체제네 편도 야보 용거이나 아니 편도 지잖아 야보 요아리 상상구도 장고를 붙여 까나서
So now, then it's important then that we make plans for how to improve the center here and the monastery, and to do everything in our power to facilitate that it continue to grow and to flourish, and to involve people that are able to help it to grow and to develop. This is something that His Holiness has instructed us on multiple occasions that we should do that, and I've observed here people making effort to improve things and to do what they can to make it to develop, and it's important that we continue that year after year to put in all of the effort that we have at the best of our ability to do this, and to make it accessible not just to a small limited number of people, but to expand it such that people are able, a larger number of people would be able to participate and to receive these kinds of teachings. So this is something that His Holiness has instructed all of us to do on multiple occasions, and myself in particular, He's instructed me to see that this happens. And so it's important that all of us that have the ability to do whatever we can to make this develop in the proper fashion, so that the Buddha Dharma, so much has been taught here on multiple occasions, so many different valuable instructions on all different kinds of aspects of Buddha Dharma. And so that being the case, and then likewise our precious teacher Gen Rinpoche has, Gen Zoba Rinpoche has done all of the work that he did to create this incredible facility here, the temple and all of the other the facilities as such, and then also to develop it such that teachers and students could come together here so as to to study and to practice in the proper way. So because of all of this effort that Gen Rinpoche has put in, Gen Zoba Rinpoche has put in, it's important that we make all of the effort that we can to see that that vision is accomplished, and that the center and all of the other associated activities are developed in the proper way. And then when we observe throughout the world, there are different Dharma centers connected with various monasteries and so forth, to the extent that it's possible to cooperate with other Dharma centers so as to create a kind of cooperative environment in that way, then I think that that's something that also should be done to the extent, the greatest extent of our ability. And so these are instructions that I've received, and this is advice that I'm also passing on.
Oh yeah, today that Timbagi. Ani Tidu the Timbagi. Ani there's about Satu Chair de Kachimbo. 남주용다 고치보 마인바 아니 현라 편도 영향을 강라 아니 사트 치에데 개침부터 두다마 그때 치고서 가나도 어때 이제 가나 아니 말한서 전도 로전 쇠지 로전 그 로전 치상 가르래서나다 가르가도 전도마 아니 편도 영다 봐 다제 체체 아니 다 가서래 다지시와 나신 전에 알아도 달래 따따래 체 아니 권주시와나 신자를 두라증이 집병마시체 아니 텐데 라레 때에 다 개침부 시라차야 잘 되는다 저는 저 루주도 이나야 티토라 토겐 시체 아니 양 루주 대 정견당 광바여바 지구 평균면도와 매도바 인장 양 전이 청견지 고고와래 전이 청견 아니 잡기다 잡다다 땅 초고르디 이나야 내당 두주 야부치 파 시체 아니 봐现在老不如果就有钱可能做了偏多也不用过的你可能就说着就几年上了你心里天天去干嘛的原来的他去你的是吧我听这个你天天给他特别抗拒那种那是可能是
Do you get that? Could you translate? Because I really didn't. Honestly.
I just had a basic point. I didn't get enough. The point is that if you organize programs for the people, public, that slowly more people will come, and you can develop that over time. It's important to advertise well, so people are aware of the programs. Just by nature that over time, more and more people will come if we create clear programs. For example, 1 or 2 week-long courses.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't get that. So we'll understand, this will be understood slowly, as Venerable Jomp said, then it's to repeat that over the microphone, it's important that we create programs that are accessible and that will attract new people as well. And for example, creating courses that are like a week or 2 weeks long that are more accessible, maybe more basic, and things that will attract new people in that way. Because although we have these wonderful facilities, if we don't have people that are engaged in the actual study and practice, then the facilities themselves don't have any, the buildings and so forth don't have any great value. So it's important that we gradually, over time, slowly develop it in that way, such that we can attract new people by presenting programs that are accessible to them.
안 되는 대학이 다시 들리려고. 아니 대학 제마 대학은 님 대요 인자 양学他这那제마学习是吧 아니 참하게 되게 두고 치셨나제 대 제바데 롭종게 띠네 야부지와야 된다라 참아 공부시르나 다 된다 돌치스나
공부시르나
롭종게 띠네 야부지와야 된다라 참아 공부시르나
So again, there's more things that could be said, but for today, that's perhaps enough. And thank you for coming and for listening. And I want you to This has gotten. Keep in mind. Study well. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry, just to clarify, he shifted into extremely colloquial language, which is my weakest part for understanding Tibetan. So it shifted completely out of classical into the colloquial. And so please study hard is, I guess, the ultimate sense.
Oh yeah,
Thank you. Especially to those who are going, leaving now, I say good fortune to you. Have a good trip, and hopefully we'll see you again.
Oh yeah,
Thank you.
So again, thanks everyone. One last volunteer.